What's cracking? Today I'm back with a brand new build. As you can see behind me, I picked up this 2005 Chevy Suburban. Got it for $800 because it needed a new transmission. Runs and drives excellent. I replaced the transmission off camera. It needs paint, needs some body work, just little dents and dings. Headliner's hanging down, needs a new carpet, so I'm gonna replace all that stuff. But my plan with this truck is I'm gonna do a custom lift kit. So I'm guesstimating around 16 to 18 inches. I'm gonna do an axle swap, and I've got these 24 by 14 rims with 40-inch tires that I wanna put on it. So my goal is to kind of do this as a budget build. And I picked up these Ford F350 or F250 axles. They're gonna work great for this application. Just have to go through and strip some stuff off of them. And then instead of ordering like $5,000 coilovers, what I did was I got online and I got on Monroe's website and I downloaded their catalog. And I found some struts that I think will work for this application. So these from end to end I think are like 23 inches and they have 10 inches of travel. So I ordered these. And what I'm gonna do is make mounts for these on the axles and up inside the frame. And then I actually found a company that sells springs. So I asked them what pound springs I should order. I got 350 for the front, 350 for the back, or 350 for the front, 250 for the back. And these just slide right over and go right over these. So this is gonna save me a lot of money. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. I don't see why it wouldn't. So basically the way I'm gonna get my lift is these mounts here and the mounts that I mount to the frame, I'm just gonna lift them up off the axle. So that's how I'll get my lift. So first things first, I'm gonna start stripping all the suspension components out of this truck. And then when I get that done, I'm gonna come over here, strip a couple things off of these, mount the rims and tires, roll these up underneath here, and kind of mock everything up and see what I'm working with at that time. So let's get to it. It's already missing a lug nut, so it's not a good start. All right, so what I've done was just went around and loosened all the bolts. Now I'm gonna lift it with my forklift. Get it up in the air, take the tires off, rims and tires off, start dropping the suspension. right, so I got the rims and tires off, got it up in the air. I'm gonna start on the suspension here. Gotta take the upper and lower A-arms off. This one has torsion bars on it, so when I get to that point for the lower A-arm, I'll lift it all the way up, I'll get under there, and then I'm just gonna cut them and let them fall, because I don't need any of that. So my goal is to strip all this clean, just strip all that off. And I thought I was gonna have to reinforce this frame here. I thought it was a C-frame. This is actually a full boxed frame. I was shocked. So I'm just gonna mount right to it just like they did. I'm gonna make a perch just like that for the new struts and slide the axle underneath it. And then in the rear, same thing. Just gotta drop this axle out. A little bit of work. If there's something that's bound up I can't get, I'm just gonna cut. Because like I said, I'm not using any of this. I'm just gonna roll it right out of the garage. So let's get to tearing it down. As you can see, I dropped my tools, so they're all scattered. Like every socket is not in its place. And I just haven't sat down and took the time to put them all back in their place, which sucks. I definitely need to do that, because this takes forever doing this. Searching through here to try to find the right socket. So what I plan on doing is leaving the brake caliper hooked up, even though I'm using the other brake calipers that came with the new axles, just so one, it's not messy, there's not brake fluid all over the place, and two, hopefully I might not have to bleed them that bad if I leave fluid in the lines until I get ready to actually connect them. Who knows? We'll see how that works out. So now what I need to attempt to do is actually cut the torsion bar, which I've never done before. I know they're under load, but I got it up in the air and it should not be under load. I'm just gonna cut it slowly and see what happens as I go. Hopefully nothing catastrophic. So like I said, I don't know if you can see the torsion bar in there. See it back there? So I'm just gonna cut that really slow. Just kind of hope for the best. Hopefully nothing catastrophic happens, like I said. We'll see. So there it went. Did make a loud noise. But scared the crap out of me, but it came out. You can see it in there. See it cut and broke. So that's my first time messing with torsion bars. I've messed with coil springs. They just come out, or regular springs. You just cut them and they kind of come out of the A-arms. But so that was my first time messing with torsion bars. They made a little snapping sound when I cut through, but that's about it. Nothing crazy. All right, so I got both sides cut out there. You can see that one and this one. Everything's chopped out of there. Once I get it lifted in the air up on the blocks, I got it on some stands right now. But once I get it way up in the air where I can walk under it, I'll cut all this out right here, smooth all that out, and then I'll actually get under there and drop that torsion bar out of there. So both sides wasn't too bad. Second side went faster, of course, because I just kind of figured I'd cut everything because I didn't need it. This side I was kind of trying to save some stuff, but that didn't work out. So now I'm going to move on to the rear axle. Got the two trailing arms, I guess you could say. I'm not a mechanic, so don't kill me if you know, my literature isn't correct. So I'm going to cut those out of there, try to drop this axle down. This one does have springs in it. I may have to cut those to maybe loosen it a little bit, but I don't think so. I think if I start popping these out and take the shocks out, it should fall right out. And that's why I'm kind of keeping it lower to the ground so that it has room to fall out here. And then once I get that stuff out, I'll lift it up to a height that I can work on. So I got the upper and lower control arms disconnected there. Well, I got the bolt out of the top. The bolt's kind of stuck in the bottom because I assume it's under pressure. And I got the top bolt out of the shock, but nut, I mean, but the bolt, of course, won't come out either. So I think I'm gonna have to start maybe cutting some stuff. Maybe cut that spring to get some tension off of there. Maybe it'll free some of this stuff up. So the upper control arm's out, our trailing arm, lower trailing arm's out, shock's out. Yep, it'll come out. Just got to do the other side. What's cool inside here is this one's already got a panhard bar set up inside of there, if you can see it. See, that's a panhard bar right there that goes across, which is what I'm going to do in the front and the back anyway, is make a panhard bar. So it's pretty cool that's already set up. I can maybe just modify the mount that's up in the top and raise this mount up on the new axle. It's kind of already figured out for me. That's pretty cool. I don't have to figure out the dimensions of that too much. So I think this side is good to fall. I'm gonna go over and do the other side. All right, so there's the back axle out. The other side shock just gave me a total problem. It took me about 45 minutes to get that out of there. At the end, I had to just cut the end off of it and let it drop. But I got it. So now it's all stripped, front and back. What I got to do now is raise it up to where it's working height, put it up on the stands, start cutting all this stuff out and smoothing it all out. You see in there, we just need to cut the rest of that out, smooth that out, reinforce that plate back there for the mount for the engine mount. Actually, want to take these off while I'm under there. Gonna make my own. Gonna have to. It's gonna be so tall. I'm gonna have to. And then I need to come over here and pretty much strip the pump off. Maybe just the pump off, and I'll leave the steering knuckle on there. I'm gonna have to make a custom mount that brings it up so it's higher. But I like to know where it's at from factory. So I might just take this pump off. It's probably easier said than done. But I'll take that pump off. You can see this has a what you call it on it too, panhard bar from the factory. So that's cool. I'll probably kind of, make my own, have it come out, up, over. But it's cool that this already has one that I can kind of check the geometry against and stuff. And I'll probably actually cut that off and get it down like this so it's flat, because I'm going to make my own mounts on there. So and then this one I'm probably just going to cut these shock mounts off, leave the towers on for now. They might come in handy. They'll probably be at a little bit of an angle, but it's pretty thick steel, so I'd like to mount on it if I can. And you can see even with them laying kind of flush, it's still angled up. So might just work out where I can mount against those. All right, so I got all the suspension dropped. What I need to do now is get my plasma cutter over. I'm gonna cut these brackets right here. And then right here where the bump stop is, I'm just gonna come straight down with this, cut this over and off so it's flat. I'm gonna cut this mount off. I've already removed this brake here. And then same thing here, just cut this off right here. I'm gonna leave this because I might use it. And That's pretty much it for this. So I want to get this all smoothed out right here. All right, so I got all that cut off with the plasma cutter. So it's all pretty much open right here. Now the rest of it is just, you know, getting a flapper wheel and smoothing all this out. I'm gonna weld a plate right there to reinforce that mount for the engine. And then pretty much the only thing that's going up here is gonna be the tower for the shock, or the strut. So now I'll do the other side. All right, so I finished up getting everything cut off on the frame, and basically I stripped the axles, but it wasn't much. All I did on this one was actually just take off that pump, and then I took off that one bracket, and I mounted the wheels, as you can see here. Pretty big. And stripped the axle out of here. I left the trailing arm in there, or the Heim's joint bar in there, just so I have a point of reference when I put it back in. And then this other axle I stripped off camera real quick, and it was just those two mounts, so it wasn't really much. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to lift it up so I can get in there and with a cutoff wheel and a grinder and smooth out the frame there. So I'm getting ready to lift it up to a good height so I can work on it. Got it under my forklift, real sturdy, not going nowhere. This is a pretty good height here. So like I said, what I'm going to do is get in here and with the flat wheel and a grinder wheel, kind of just smooth all this out. And then I'll actually probably bring it up higher and get these out of there, unbolt those so they fall out. Then the end goal is to roll this axle with the wheels underneath here. And I kind of want to I'm going to find the center of the brace here in the middle, so I have a point of reference and find the center of that axle, mark it, bring it up in here, and then I'm going to start making my mounts for the shocks and springs. See how it goes. All right, so I got both sides pretty smoothed out here. It's not perfect. I'll go through with the flapper disc when I get done in the end before I paint everything, and then I'll smooth everything out like perfectly. But for now, what I'm going to try to do is find center of this wheel well, and I think both sides have this big hole right here on the frame, so I'm going to measure from the edge of this hole over on both sides, and that should give me the center of this fender right here. And then I'm also going to measure probably in between the brake rotors on this axle and find center, and then I'm going to go up underneath, and I think there's a cross member in there that should be sitting right in the center. Yeah, right there. And I'm going to measure the center of that, and that should give me the center of the truck. And then I've got some plumb bobs that I'm going to hang down here, here, and there, and it should help me get everything lined up. So I don't know if it's exactly perfect center, but from this hole to that line is a foot. And that looks like it sits about in the center. So what I'll do is do both sides, hang a plumb bob down, find the center of this axle, put it underneath, see what it looks like. And if I need to move forward or back of that line from there, then I'll do that at that time. And again, I'm not a professional. I don't know if this is right, but this is the way I'm doing it. We'll see how it turns out. Do the same thing over here. All right, so now what I'm going to do is lift it up higher so I can get to that cross member. Measure the center to center on that, and then get a center, and then I'm going to measure this axle right here, and like I said, get that under there. All right, I got the axle underneath here. I got the plumb bob in the center, marked my center on the axle. I have it lined up in the center. I also marked from here to here and then found the center of my wheel well, which is right here, a foot from this hole. Mark that line. I drop a plumb bob down there and center the axle there. So it should be centered this way and this way on both sides. Sitting really good. I think altogether maybe, I don't know, maybe I've done 18 inches of lift on it, because the axle, or the rims and tires lift the axle up about 5 or 6 inches too, because they're 40, so it's a pretty big lift. But it's not crazy, it's not gaudy. I mean, it's pretty big though. You can see the door handle here is about right at my head. So I'm going to do the same to the rear axle, try to get that underneath here, get the tires on there, roll that underneath here, kind of do the same thing, mock it up, get it all in here and set down. So let's get to it. All right, so I got both the axles under, pretty much squared off. You see here, it's pretty high. This has got to go up about a ½ an inch compared to that one more, but that's about where it's going to sit. It's pretty high, but that's about it for this one. Thanks for watching.